Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shri Krishna Shinityananda Chandram Patita Sharanadam Gauradam Tam Bhajeham Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shirvasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye nasta praesva bhadraesu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naisthiki Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26. Fundamental Principles of Material Nature.
1 second.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Atha te sampravakshami tadvanam lakshanam prithak yadviditva vimuchetah purushah prakriter gune.
First night you got it, Kapil continued, my dear mother, now I shall describe unto you the different categories of the absolute truth, knowing which any person can be released from the influence of the modes of material nature.
Nanam nihsreya sarthaya purusashatma darshanam yadahur varnaye tatte hirdaya granthi bedanam.
Knowledge is... Shyam Malini, would you like to read the translations?
Yes, Prabhu.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay, 1 second. Just turn my screen.
No problem. No
Yeah.
problem.
Knowledge is the ultimate perfection of self-realization. I shall explain that knowledge unto you by which the knots of attachment to the material world are cut. The supreme...
Ananda Leela will read the...
sorry.
Anadir Atma Purusho Nirgunah Prakritehi Parah Pratyagdhama Swayam Jyotir Vishwam Yena Samanvitam.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Soul, and he has no beginning. He is transcendental to the material mode of nature and beyond the existence of this material world. He is perceivable everywhere because he is self-effulgent, and by his self-effulgent luster, the entire creation is maintained.
Saisha Prakritim Sukshmam Devim Gunamayim Vibhuhu Yadrach Chaiva Pogatam Abhyapadyatta Leelaya.
As his pastime, that Supreme Personality of Godhead, the greatest of the great, accepted the subtle material energy, which is invested with three material modes of nature and which is related with Vishnu.
Guner Vichitraha Sarjatim Sarupaha Prakritim Prajaha Vilokya Mumuhe Sadyaha Saiha Jnana Guhaya.
Divided into varieties by her threefold modes, material nature creates the forms of the living entities, and the living entities, seeing this, are illusioned by the knowledge covering feature of the illusory energy.
एवं पराभिध्यानेन कर्तृत्वं प्रकृतेः पुमान् कर्मसु क्रियमाणेषु गुणैरात्मनि मन्यते.
Because of his forgetfulness, the transcendental living entity accepts the influence of material energy as his field of activities, and thus actuated, he wrongly applies the activities to himself.
तदस्य संसृतिर्बन्धः पारतन्त्र्यं च तत्कृतं भवति अकर्तुरिसस्य साक्षिणो निर्वृतात्मनः.
Material consciousness is the cause of one's conditional life, in which conditions are enforced upon the living entity by the material energy. Although the spirit soul does not do anything and is transcendental to such activities, he is thus affected by the conditional life.
कार्यकारणकर्तृत्वे कारणं प्रकृतिं विदुः भोक्तृत्वे सुखदुःखानां पुरुषं प्रकृतेः परम्.
You're muted, Shyammalini.
Sorry, Prabhu.
That's
Sorry. The cause of the conditioned soul's material body and senses, and the senses presiding deities, the demigods, is the material nature. This is understood by learned men. The feelings of happiness and distress of the soul, who is transcendental by nature, are caused by the spirit soul himself.
Okay, so let's look at the summary. Surinder, over to you.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu, Nitai Gaur Harbo.
Sorry, yeah, it's a little odd.
It's chapter 6, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. Causes of Creation, verses 1 to 8. Knowledge of the different categories of the Absolute Truth brings liberation. Purusha characteristics are described. Without a beginning, Supreme Soul, transcendental material modes, beyond material world, perceivable everywhere, self-effulgent, by him the entire creation is maintained. The interaction of Purusha with Prakriti is just a pastime by his will. The covering of living entities by matter is arranged by material nature, but the feelings of happiness and distress are caused by the souls themselves. So the happiness and distress is because of our karmic reactions. So the thing is that if we engage in Shuddha Bhakti, then all these materialistic karmic reactions will be burned at the root, as it is confirmed in Brahma Samhita. Yasvindra gopam mathavendram aho swakarma bandhana rupa phalabhajana matanoti karmani nirdhati kim tuja bhakti bhajam govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. So it explains that even if one is the great demigod in Lord Indra, or an insignificant insect bug like Indra Gopa, so in any case, we all have to endure and undergo the karmic reactions. But those who engage in Shuddha Bhakti, the root of the karmic reactions is burned to ashes, and there will be no karmic reactions because one is situated in Shuddha Bhakti. And this is our aspiration and prayer to the Lord. Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Thank you.
Also, Krishna says, Matra swasastu kaunteya shitoshna shukadukadvahe gamapayinyo nityastam tiksasva bharat. You know, one's happiness and distress is perceived through sense perception. And even if his soul is going through difficult time, because he's identifying with the body and the sense, he's struggling. But if
it also says, Sukhe dukhe bholo nako vadane harinam korore. Gai Gaura Madhur Sware. So advice is that whether in happiness or in stress, we should continue to chant the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna Mahamantra especially, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And in Prapana Jivanamritam, there is a verse by Lord Brahma, and the translation is as follows. One who, in hope of achieving your grace, goes on enduring the inauspicious fruit of karma and passes his days practicing devotion unto you in every thought, word, and deed. Such a person is heir to the land of freedom. He attains to the plane of positive immortality. Hare Krishna.
Similar verse in the Bhagavatam as well, that person who tolerates the pain of karma and continues to serve the Lord, for him the doors of the spiritual world are already open.
Yes.
Very powerful. Thank you. So now it's up to number 14. Huh?
Yeah. It is, yes.
Devahutiruvacha prakritehi purusasyapi lakshanam purusasyapi lakshanam purushottama bruhi karanayoras. Oh, sorry, Prabhu. Devahutiruvacha prakritehi purusasyapi lakshanam purushottama bruhi karanayorasya saddasaccha yad atmakam.
Devahuti said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, kindly explain the characteristics of the Supreme Person and his energies, for both of these are the causes of this manifest and unmanifest creation.
Sri Bhagavanuvacha Yattattrigunamavyaktam Nityam Saddasad Atmakam Pradhanam Prakritim Prahur Avisesham Visheshavat.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the unmanifested eternal combination of the three modes is the cause of the manifest state and is called pradhana. It is called prakriti when in the manifested stage of existence.
Panchabhihi Brahma Chaturbhi Dashabhishtatha Etach Chaturvimshatikam Ganam Pradhanikam Viduhu.
The aggregate elements, namely the 5 gross elements, the 5 subtle elements, the 4 internal senses, the 5 senses for gathering knowledge, and the 5 outward organs of action are known as the pradhana.
Mahabhutani Panchaiva Bhurapognirmarunnabaha Tanmatrani Chatavanti Gandhadini Matani Me.
There are 5 gross elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether. There are also 5 subtle elements, smell, taste, color, touch, and sound.
इन्द्रियाणि दश स्तोत्रम् त्वग्दृग्रशननाशिकाः वाक्करो चरणो मेध्रम् पायुर्दशमोच्यते.
The senses for acquiring knowledge and the organs for action number 10, namely the auditory sense, the sense of taste, the tactile sense, the sense of sight, the sense of smell, and the active organs for speaking, working, traveling, generating, and evacuating.
मनोबुद्धिरहङ्कारश्चित्तम् इत्यन्तरात्मकम् चतुर्धा लक्ष्यते भेदो वृत्त्या लक्षणरूपया.
The eternal subtle senses are experienced as having 4 aspects in the shape of mind, intelligence, ego, and contaminated consciousness. Distinctions between them can be made only by different functions, since they represent the different characteristics.
Okay, great. So let's summarize this.
So, material energy, verses 9 to 14. Devahuti requests further details of the Supreme and his manifested and unmanifested energies. Kapila describes the pradhana and enumerates in detail the 24 elements of material nature, including the modes, elements, senses, and the organs of action. So, Purush is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Purusha, and Prakriti is material nature. Yes, in material nature, we have the 3 modes of material nature. Sattvagun means mode of goodness, Rajogun is a mode of passion, and Tamogun is a mode of ignorance. So material nature is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna himself, as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Maya dhakshena prakriti suyate sa characharam hetu nanena konteya jagad vipari vartate. So it says that working under my direction, this material energy brings into being all animate and inanimate forms. O son of Kunti, for this reason, the material world undergoes the changes of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. So in this way, we understand that the material nature is under control of Lord Sri Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna. And we should surrender unto Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and then it will be very good in this way to practice our Krishna consciousness and progress very nicely. So it is mentioned in Prapanna Jivanamritam. So an advice is given as follows, like how we can achieve that. So within renunciation in devotion, Yukta Vairagya, the foremost principle is to see everything in relationship to Lord Krishna, Krishna Sambandha Gyan. So the translation continues, adorn with the articles that have been offered to you, such as garlands, fragrant clothing, and ornaments. We, your personal servitors, who partake of your holy remnants alone, will certainly be able to conquer your illusory energy, Maya, or the material energy, Maya. Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Now, for some reason, I haven't got the summary for the text from 15 to 32. So, so in the we just listen out. I don't know what's happened.
No
I-
problem, Prabhu. We'll figure
Yeah.
out and explain
Fine.
something. No problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Prabhu.
you. Thank you.
No
so
worry.
एतावानेव सङ्ख्यातो ब्रह्मणः सगुणस्यः सन्निवेशो मया प्रोक्तो यः कालः पञ्चविंशकः.
All these are considered the qualified Brahman. The mixing element, which is known as time, is counted as the 25th element.
Mhm.
प्रभावं पौरुषं प्राहुः कालमेके यतो भयम् अहङ्कारविमूढस्य कर्तुः प्रकृतिमीयुषः.
The influence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is felt in the time factor, which causes fear of death due to the false ego of the deluded soul who has contacted material nature.
प्रकृतेर्गुणसाम्यस्य निर्विशेषस्य मानवी चेष्टा यतः स भगवान् काल इति उपलक्षितः.
My dear mother, O daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, the time factor, as I have explained, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom the creation begins as a result of the agitation of the neutral, unmanifested nature.
अन्तः पुरुषरूपेण कालरूपेण यो बहिः समन्वेति एष सद्वानां भगवानात्ममायया.
By exhibiting his potencies, the Supreme Personality of Godhead adjusts all these different elements, keeping himself within as the super soul and without as time.
दैवाक्षुभितधर्मिण्यां स्वस्यां यौनोपरः पुमान् आधत्त वीर्यं साशुत महत्तत्त्वं हिरण्मयम्.
After the Supreme Personality of Godhead impregnates material nature with his internal potency, material nature delivers the sum total of the cosmic intelligence, which is known as Hiranmaya. This takes place in material nature when she is agitated by the destinations of the conditioned souls.
विश्वम् आत्मागतं जन्यन् कुटस्थो जगत् अङ्कुरः स्वतेजसाभिपत्तिव्रम् आत्मप्रश्वापणं तमः.
Thus, after manifesting variegatedness, the effulgent Mahatattva, which contains all the universes within itself, which is the root of all cosmic manifestations, and which is not destroyed at the time of annihilation, swallows the darkness that covered the effulgence at the time of dissolution.
यत्तत् सत्त्वगुणं स्वच्छं शान्तं भगवतः पदं यदाहुर्वासुदेवाख्यं चित्तं तन्महदात्मकम्.
The mode of goodness, which is the clear, sober status of understanding the personality of Godhead, and which is generally called Vasudev or consciousness, becomes manifest in the Mahatattva.
स्वच्छत्वम् अविकारित्वम् शान्तत्वम् इति चेतसः वृत्तिभिर्लक्षणं प्रोक्तं यथापां प्रकृतिः परा.
After the manifestation of the Mahatattva, these features appear simultaneously. As water is its natural state, before coming in contact with earth is clear, sweet, and unruffled, so the characteristic traits of pure consciousness are complete serenity, clarity, and freedom from distraction.
महत्तत्वाद् विकुर्वाणान् भगवद्वीर्यसम्भवात् क्रियाशक्तिरहङ्कारस्त्रिविधा समपद्यत वैकारिकस्तेजसश्च तामसश्च यतो भवः मनसश्चेन्द्रियाणां च भूतानां महतामपि.
The material ego springs up from the Mahatattva, which evolved from the Lord's own energy. The material ego is endowed predominantly with active power of the three kinds: good, passionate, and ignorant. It is from these three types of material ego that the mind, the senses of perception, the organs of action, and the gross elements evolve.
सहस्रशिरशं साक्षात् यम् अनन्तं प्रचक्षते शङ्कर्षणाख्यं पुरुषं भूतेन्द्रियामनोमयम्.
The threefold ahankar, the source of the gross elements, the senses, and the mind, is identical with them because it is their cause. It is known by the name of Sankarsana, who is directly Lord Ananta with 1,000 heads.
कर्तृत्वं करणाद्वं च कार्यद्वं चेति लक्षणम् शान्तघोरविमूढद्वम् इति वा स्यादहङ्कृतेः.
This false ego is characterized as the doer, as an instrument, and as an effect. It is further characterized as serene, active, or dull according to how it is influenced by the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance.
वैकारिकाद् विकुर्वाणान् मनस्तत्त्वम् अजायत यत् सङ्कल्पविकल्पाभ्यां वर्तते कामसम्भवः.
From the false ego of goodness, another transformation takes place. From this evolves the mind, whose thoughts and reflection give rise to desire.
यद्विदुर्हि अनिरुद्धाख्यं हीर्षिकानामधीश्वरम् सारदेन्दिवरश्यामं सम्राध्यं योगिभिः शनैः.
The mind of the living entity is known by the name of Lord Anirudh, the supreme ruler of the senses. He possesses a bluish black form resembling a lotus flower growing in the autumn. He is found slowly by the yogis.
तैजसा तु विकुर्वाणात् बुद्धितत्त्वम् अभुत्सति द्रव्यस्फुरनविज्ञानम् इन्द्रियाणां नामनुग्रहः.
By transformation of the false ego in passion, intelligence takes birth. O virtuous lady, the functions of intelligence are to help in ascertaining the nature of objects when they come into view and to help the senses.
संशयोत्था विपर्यासो निश्चयः स्मृतिरेव च स्वाप इति उच्यते बुद्धेर्लक्षणं वृत्तितः पृथक्.
Doubt, misapprehension, correct apprehension, memory, and sleep, as determined by their different functions, are said to be the distinct characteristics of intelligence.
तैजसानीन्द्रियाण्येव क्रियाज्ञानविभागशः प्राणस्य हि क्रियाशक्तिर्बुद्धेर्विज्ञानशक्तिता.
Egoism in the mode of passion produces two kinds of senses: the sense for acquiring knowledge and the senses of action. The senses of action depend on the vital energy, and the senses for acquiring knowledge depend on intelligence.
तामसाच्च विकुर्वाणान् भगवद्वीर्यचोदितात् शब्दमात्रम् अभूत् तस्मान् नभः श्रोत्रां तु शब्दगम्.
When egoism in ignorance is agitated by the sex energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the subtle element sound is manifested, and from sound come the ethereal sky and the sense of hearing.
Wow, that's quite technical stuff. Over to you, Surinder. Whatever you like to summarize from that.
Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur. So, along this passage, it mentioned about something about creation, about time.
Yes.
So, it basically summarized the form. There is some verses in Brahma Samhita which explains in depth about the creation. But one of the verses in a summary form we need to understand is as follows. Shristi sthiti pralaya sadhana shaktireka chayeva yasya bhuvanani vibharti durga ichanurupamapi yasya chestate sa govindamari purusham tamham bhajame. The intrinsic or divine potency's shadow is personified as a Maya potency who accomplishes creation, sustenance, and dissolution, and who is worshipped in the world as Durga. By he whose wish she acts, that primeval Lord Govinda do I worship. So this is very important. So Durga Devi is doing her activities under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Govinda, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this aspect we need to understand. And the time, mentioning the passage of the time in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that time I am the destroyer of the worlds. Like that, yes. And here in the passage it says, Durga Devi, she is adorned with, that is, she holds the snake representing the beauty of time, the vanquisher. Durga possesses all these features. So, like that, some aspect of time as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we understand, and some aspect of creation was explained. In a summary form, it's, yes, this is all about Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.
And especially time has an impact in the form of death. So we spend our time uselessly gossiping, and the snake of time swallows the frog. So we got to be careful we don't croak rubbish and try to remember and talk about the Lord, then that way the snake of time won't affect us. Thank you. Sir.
Yes, you are right. So it is mentioned that the fundamental objective is to maintain constant remembrance of Sri Hari in every time, place, and circumstance. This is verse from Prapanajinamritam by Vyasadeva. If persons engaged in the devotional service of Lord Hari are unable to obtain food and shelter despite their attempts, or if their acquisitions are lost or destroyed, they should, without anxiety, absorb their hearts deeply in the thought of Lord Hari. This is a fundamental objective, to always remember
Nice.
Krishna.
Thank
Thank you very much.
So now it's up to 40. Let me just have a look. 49. Yeah, 49.
अर्थाश्रयद्वं शब्दस्य द्रष्टुर्लिङ्गद्वमेव च तन्मात्रत्वं च नाभसो लक्षणं कवयो विदुः.
Persons who are learned and who have true knowledge define sound as that which conveys the idea of an object, indicates the presence of a speaker screened from our view, and constitutes the subtle form of ether.
भूतानां छिद्रदातृत्वं बहिरन्तरमेव च प्राणेन्द्रियात्मधिस्न्यत्वं नभसो वृत्तिलक्षणम्.
The activities of the characteristics of the ethereal element can be observed as the accommodation of room for the external and internal existence or existences of all living entities, namely the field of activities of the vital air, the senses, and the mind.
नभसः शब्दतन्मात्रात् कालगत्या विकुर्वतः स्पर्शो भवत्ततो वायुस्त्वक्स्पर्शस्य च सङ्ग्रहः.
From ethereal existence, which evolved from sound, the next transformation takes place under the impulse of time, and thus the subtle element, touch, and thence the air and sense of touch become prominent.
You might be muted, Maji.
Sorry. मृदुध्वं कठिनध्वं च सैन्त्यम् उष्णत्वम् एव च एतत् स्पर्शस्य स्पर्शध्वं तन्मात्रोध्वं नभस्वतः.
Softness and hardness and cold and heat are the distinguishing attributes of touch, which is characterized as the subtle form of air.
चालनं व्योहनं प्रापिर्नेत्रध्वं द्रव्यशब्दयोः सर्वेन्द्रियाणामात्मध्वं वायोः कर्माभिलक्षणम्.
The action of the air is exhibited in movements, mixing, allowing approach to the objects of sound and other sense perceptions, and providing for the proper functioning of all other senses.
वायोश्च स्पर्शतन्मात्राद् रूपं दैवेरितादभूत् समुत्थितं ततस्तेजश्चक्षुरूपोपलम्भनम्.
By interactions of the air and the sensations of touch, one receives different forms of according to destiny. By evolution of such forms, there is fire, and the eye sees different forms in color.
द्रव्याकृतित्वं गुणता व्यक्तिसंस्थात्वमेव च तेजस्त्वं तेजसः साध्वी रूपमात्रस्य वृत्तया.
My dear mother, the characteristics of form are understood by dimension, quality, and individuality. The form of fire is appreciated by its effulgence.
द्योतनं पञ्चनं पाणम् अदनं हिममर्दनं तेजसो वृत्तयस्त्वतः शोषणं क्षुत्रिदेव च.
Fire is appreciated by its light and by its ability to cook, to digest, to destroy coal, to evaporate, and to give rise to hunger, thirst, eating, and drinking.
रूपमात्राद्विकुर्वाणात् तेजसो दैव चोदितात् रसमात्रम् अभूत् तस्मात् अम्भोजीवा रसग्रहः.
By the interaction of fire and the visual sensation, the subtle element taste evolves under a superior arrangement. From taste, water is produced, and the tongue which perceives taste is also manifested.
कैसायो मधुरस्तिक्तः कट्वाम्ला इति नैकधा भौतिकानां विकारेण रस एको विभिद्यते.
Although originally one, taste becomes manifold as astringent, sweet, bitter, pungent, sour, and salty due to contact with other substances.
क्लेदनं पिण्डनं तृप्तिः प्राणनाप्यायो नन्दनं तापपन्नयो भूयस्त्वम् अम्भसो वृतयस्त्वयिमाः.
The characteristics of water are exhibited by its moistening other substances, coagulating various mixtures, causing satisfaction, maintaining life, softening things, driving away heat, incessantly supplying itself to reservoirs of water, and refreshing by slacking thirst.
रसमात्राद्विकुर्वाणात् अम्भसो दैव चोदितात् गन्धमात्रम् अभूत् तस्मात् पृथिवीघ्राणस्तु गन्धगः.
Due to the interaction of water with the taste perception, the subtle element odor evolves under superior arrangement. Thence, the earth and the olfactory sense by which we can variously experience the aroma of the earth become manifest.
करम्भपुत्तिसौरभ्य सान्तोघ्रां लाब्धिभिः पृथक् द्रव्यावयववैषम्यात् गन्ध एको विभिद्यते.
Odor, although one, becomes many, as mixed, offensive, fragrant, mild, strong, acidic, and so on, according to the proportions of associated substances.
भावनं ब्रह्मणः स्थानं धारणं सद्विशेषणं सर्वसत्त्वगुणोद्बेधः पृथ्वीवृत्तिलक्षणम्.
The characteristics of the functions of earth can be perceived by modeling forms of the Supreme Brahman, by constructing places of residence, by preparing pots to contain water, etc. In other words, the earth is the place of a substance for all elements.
नभो गुणविशेषोऽर्थो यस्य तच्छ्रोत्रम् उच्यते वायोर्गुणविशेषोऽर्थो यस्य तत्स्पर्शनं विदुः.
The sense whose object of perception is sound is called the auditory sense, and that whose object of perception is touch is called the tactile sense.
No.
तेजो गुणविशेषोऽर्थो यस्य तच्चक्षुरुच्यते अम्भुगुणविशेषोऽर्थो यस्य तद्रसनं विदुः भूमिर्गुणविशेषोऽर्थो यस्य सघ्राण उच्यते.
The sense whose object of perception is form, the distance characteristics of fire, is the sense of sight. The sense whose object of perception is taste, the distinctive characteristics of water, is known as the sense of taste. Finally, the sense whose object of perception is odor, the distinctive characteristics of earth, is called the sense of smell.
परस्य दृश्यते धर्मो हि अपरस्मिन् समन्वयात् अतो विशेषो भावानां भूमावेवोपलक्ष्यते.
Since the cause exists in its effect as well, the characteristics of the former are observed in the latter. That is why the peculiarities of all elements exist in the earth alone.
Okay, so let's go to the summary. Luckily, we got something on this one. Over to you, Sun. You are muted. Huh?
Hare Krishna, sorry about that. Yes. Creation of the elements, verses 33 to 49. The successive elements manifest with their senses. Sound manifests with sky and hearing, providing space for the jiva, external and internal. Air with touch, providing life to the senses. Fire with the eyes and forms, providing ability to cook, digest, destroy, evaporate. Taste with water and the tongue, manifests as sweet, bitter, sour, salty. Odor with earth and the nose, providing place of sustenance for all. Sound, ether, touch, air, form, fire, taste, water, smell, earth. Since the cause exists in its effect as well, the characteristics of the former exist in the latter. Example is a unique quality of water is taste. It contains all qualities up to taste, that is sound, touch, form, and taste. So basically, in this passage, it mentions about the five material elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then also these senses, the sense of the sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. These are being described. And the main thing is that with the mind, we should absorb it in always in Hari Kirtan and Hari Bhajan and Hari Katha. And in this way, engage the mind in devotional service together with the senses. We use our senses to engage in devotional service. And in this way, we try to practice to bring the senses under control. It is said that when the mind is not under our control, it is our greatest enemy. And when the mind is engaged in devotional service to Hari Guru Vaishnava, then it is our best friend.
Mm.
So in this way, we should try to practice our Krishna consciousness. And also it mentioned about the, about the taste, the bitter, sour, etc. So one chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it explains about the three modes of material nature. And these three modes of material nature is some different subject or comes under three modes of material nature. It's like food. Food can be classified in mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And then there is charity. Charity in the mode of goodness, passions, and ignorance. Austerity in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Sacrifice in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So in this way, it is all classified. And then we have to try to, minimum, we should try to accept everything in the mode of goodness, but the best way is Sudha Sattva, means transcendental, by offering these items in mode of goodness in the service of Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So three verses now. Oh, 4 verses to number 53.
Okay, Prabhuji. Etani asamhyatya yada mahad adini saptave kala karma gunopeto jagadadir upavisat.
When all these elements were unmixed, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin of creation, along with time, work, and the qualities of the modes of material nature, entered into the universe with the total material energy in 7 divisions.
ततस्तेनानुविद्धेभ्यो युक्तेभ्योऽन्दम् अचेतनम् उत्थितं पुरुषो यस्मात् उदतिष्ठत् असो विरात्.
From these 7 principles roused into activity and united by the presence of the Lord, an unintelligent egg arose from which appeared the celebrated cosmic being.
एतदन्दं विशेषाख्यं क्रमवृद्धेर्दशोत्तरैः तोयादिभिः परिवृत्तं प्रधानेनावृतेर्बहिः यत्र लोकवितानोऽयं रूपं भगवतो हरे.
The universal egg, or the universe in the shape of an egg, is called the manifestation of material energy. Its layers of water, air, fire, sky, ego, and Mahatattva increase in thickness one after another. Each layer is 10 times bigger than the previous one, and the final outside layer is covered by Pradhan. Within this egg is the universal form of Lord Hari, of whose body of the 14 planetary systems are parts.
हिरण्मयादन्दकोशात् उत्थाय सलिले स्यात् तमाविश्य महादेवो बहुधा निर्बिद्बेधकम्.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Virat Purusha, situated himself in that golden egg, which was lying on the water, and he divided it into many departments.
Mm. You might be muted, huh?
Hare Krishna, sorry about that. So we are reading verses, the Lord enters the universe, verses 50 to 53. When these elements are unmixed, the Lord enters the universe along with time, work, and the qualities of the modes of material nature. This precipitates the appearance of the cosmic egg and cosmic being, the universal form, Virat Rup, who divided the egg into many departments. Yes, so this explains about how the Lord enters the universe. First there is Mahavishnu, yes, and then he's lying in the causal ocean, and the expansion from Mahavishnu is Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, and as in the form of Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, the Lord enters all the planets in this way, and from the pose of Mahavishnu originally, all these universes in the form of golden eggs come out from the pose of Mahavishnu and his exhaling exhalation, exhale when he exhales. Yes. So these topics have been described. Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaura Hari.
Also, there was this point about how the layers of the universe, every one increases by 10 times the previous one. Earth, water, air, fire, ether, and then we have the false ego and the Pradhan. So extraordinary. So earth after earth is water. Water is 10 times greater than the earth element. And the earth element is 10 times greater than the actual egg, which is, it's just extraordinary. It's just inconceivably difficult to understand. But anyway, so be it. So now it's up to verse 61.
निराभीद्य तास्य प्रथमं मुखं वाणी ततो भवत् वाण्या वहनिरथो नासे प्राणुतो घ्राणयेतयो.
First of all, a mouth appeared in him, and then came forth the organ of speech, and with it the god of fire, the deity who presides over that organ. Then a pair of nostrils appeared, and in them appeared the olfactory sense, as well as prana, the vital air.
घ्राणाद्वायुरभिजेताम् अक्षिणी चक्षुरेतयोः तस्मात् सूर्योऽन्यभिजेताम् कर्णौ श्रोत्रं ततो दिशः.
In the wake of the olfactory sense came the wind god, who presides over that sense. Thereafter, a pair of eyes appeared in the universal form, and in them the sense of sight. In the wake of this sense came the sun god, who presides over it. Next, there appeared in him a pair of ears, and in them the auditory sense, and in its wake the Devtas, or the deities who preside over the directions.
निर्बिभेदविराजस्त्वग् रोमस्मस्रवादयस्ततः ततोदधयश्चाशन् शिष्णं निर्बिभिदे ततः.
Then the universal form of the Lord, the Virat Purush, manifested his skin, and thereupon the hair, mustache, and beard appeared. After this, all the herbs and drugs became manifested, and then his genitals also appeared.
रेतस्तस्मादाप आसन् निरभिद्यत वैगुणम् गुडाद् अपाणोपनाच्च मृत्योर्लोकभयङ्करः.
After this, semen, the faculty of procreation, and the god who presides over the waters appeared. Next appeared an anus, and then the organs of defecation, and thereupon the god of death, who is feared throughout the universe.
हस्तौ च निरभिद्येतां बलं ताभ्यां ततः स्वरात् पादौ च निरभिद्येतां गतिस्ताभ्यां ततो हरिः.
Thereafter, the two hands of the universal form of the Lord became manifested, and with them the power of grasping and dropping things. And after that, Lord Indra appeared. Next, the legs became manifested, and with them the process of movements. And after that, Lord Vishnu appeared.
नाद्योऽस्य निरभिद्यन्त ताभ्यो लोहितमाभृतम् नद्यस्ततः समभवन् उदरं निरभिद्यत.
The veins of the universal body became manifested, and thereafter the red corpuscles, or blood in the wake, came the rivers, the deities presiding over the veins. And then appeared an abdomen.
क्षुत्पिपासे ततः स्यातां समुद्रस्त्वैतयोरभूत् अट्ठास्य हृदयं भिन्नं हृदयान्मन उत्थितम्.
Next grew feelings of hunger and thirst, and in their wake came the manifestation of the oceans. Then a heart became manifest, and in the wake of the heart the mind appeared.
मनसश्चन्द्रमा जातो बुद्धिर्बुद्धेर्गिरां पतिः अहङ्कारस्ततो रुद्रश्चित्तं चैत्यस्ततो भवत्.
After the mind, the moon appeared. Intelligence appeared next. And after intelligence, Lord Brahma appeared. Then the false ego appeared, and then Lord Shiva. And after the appearance of Lord Shiva came consciousness and the deity presiding over consciousness.
Okay, so this is the universal form being explained. Surinder, you might be muted.
Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. So universal form, verses 54 to 61. The Lord's universal form manifests in stages with his senses and bodily parts. The deities of these functions also appear along with the qualities of the senses and the organs. So the point is that some aspect of the universal form of the Lord is described in Bhagavad Gita. It says the mountains represents the bones of the universal form of the Lord. And the trees in the forest, they represent the hair in the universal form of the Lord. And the rivers and streams represent the veins of the universal form of the Lord. In this way, some aspect of the universal form has been explained in Bhagavad as well. Hare Krishna. Nitai Gaur.
So now the last part. Long chapter, very technical chapter as well.
Ete ह्यभ्युत्थिता देवा नैवास्योत्थापने शकन् पुनराविविसुखाणि तं उत्थापयितुं क्रमात्.
When the demigods and presiding deities of the various senses were thus manifested, they wanted to wake their origin of appearance. But upon failing to do so, they re-entered the body of the Virat Purusha, one after another, in order to wake him.
वह्निर्वाचामुखं भेजे नोदति स्थातदा विराट् घ्राणेन नासिके वायुर्नोदति स्थातदा विराट्.
The god of fire entered his mouth with the organ of speech, but the Virat Purusha could not be aroused. Then the god of wind entered his nostrils with the sense of smell, but still the Virat Purusha refused to be awakened.
अक्षिणी चक्षुषादित्यो नोदति स्थातदा विराट् श्रोत्रेण कर्णौ च दिशो नोदति स्थातदा विराट्.
The sun god entered the eyes of the Virat Purusha with the sense of sight, but still the Virat Purusha did not get up. Similarly, the predominating deities of the directions entered through his ears with the sense of hearing, but still he did not get up.
त्वचं रोमभिरुसज्जो नोदति स्थातदा विराट् रेतसा शिष्णमापस्तु नोदति स्थातदा विराट्.
The predominating deities of the skin, herbs, and seasoning plants entered the skin of the Virat Purusha with the hair of the body. But the cosmic being refused to get up even then. The god predominating over water entered his organ of generation with the faculty of procreation, but the Virat Purusha still would not rise.
गुड्डं मृत्युरपानेन नोदति स्थातदा विराट् हस्ताविन्द्रो बलेनैव नोदति स्थातदा विराट्.
The god of death entered his anus with the organ of defecation, but the Virat Purusha could not be spurred to activity. The god of Indra entered the hands with their power of grasping and dropping things, but the Virat Purusha would not get up even then.
विष्णुर्गत्यैव चरणो नोदति स्थातदा विराट् नादिर्नद्यो लोहितेन नोदति स्थातदा विराट्.
Lord Vishnu entered his feet with the faculty of locomotion, but the Virat Purusha refused to stand up even then. The rivers entered his blood vessels with the blood and the power of circulation, but still the cosmic being could not be made to stir.
क्षुत्रिभ्याम् उदरं सिन्धुर्नोदति स्थातदा विराट् हृदयं मनसा चन्द्रो नोदति स्थातदा विराट्.
The ocean entered his abdomen with hunger and thirst, but the cosmic being refused to rise even then. The moon god entered his heart with the mind, but the cosmic being would not be roused.
बुद्ध्या ब्रह्मापि हृदयं नोदति स्थातदा विराट् रुद्रोभिमत्या हृदयं नोदति स्थातदा विराट्.
Brahma also entered his heart with intelligence, but even then the cosmic being could not be prevailed upon to get up. Lord Rudra also entered his heart with the ego, but even then the cosmic being did not stir.
चित्तेन हृदयं चैत्यः क्षेत्रज्ञः प्राविशद् यदा विराट् तदैव पुरुषः शरीरात् उदति स्थितः.
However, when the inner controller, the deity presiding over consciousness, entered the heart with reason, at that very moment the cosmic being arose from the causal waters.
यथा प्रशुप्तं पुरुषं प्राणेन्द्रियमनोधियाः प्रभवन्ति विनायेन नोत्थापयितुम् ओजसा.
When a man is sleeping, all his material assets, namely the vital energy, the senses for recording knowledge, the senses for working, the mind and the intelligence, cannot arouse him. He can be aroused only when the super soul helps him.
तमस्मिन् प्रत्यगात्मानं धिया योगः प्रवृत्तया भक्त्या विरक्त्या ज्ञानेन विविच्यात्मनि चिन्तयेत्. हरे कृष्णा.
Therefore, through devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge acquired through concentrated devotional service, one should contemplate that super soul as present in this very body, although simultaneously apart from it.
Very good. Well done, Shyamalini. And Anandalila. That was a long chapter and very technical as well. Okay, Surind, over to you.
Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hari. So, creation, maintenance, destruction, verses 62-72. Attempts to awaken the Lord's cosmic form. The demigod re-enter his body. For example, fire god enters his mouth along with the organ of speech, etc. Even Brahma and Rudra attempted to awaken the Virat Roop. Pardon me. Yet he fails to awaken until the inner controller, deity of consciousness, Paramatma, enters his heart. Only the super soul can awaken the sleeping souls, not prana, mind, and intelligence. Therefore, through devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge, one must meditate upon the super soul within the body, although he is also apart from it. Yes, so some key subject matter explained is about the cosmic being and the cosmic egg. So in Brahma Samhita, there is one verse explaining about this cosmic egg, mentioning as andam. So the verse is as follows: Prati andam evam ekam shad vishati swayam sahasramurdha vishvatma mahavishnu sanatana. That Mahavishnu enters into each and every universe or cosmic egg in his individual plenary portions. All those divine portions are his supramundane almighty form. The eternal form of Mahavishnu is thousands upon thousands of heads, the soul of the universe. So the thing is that even among devotees, there are some scientists in ISKCON, for example, they say nowadays they are coming with the ideas like the planet Earth is flat. But here in Brahma Samhita, it explains that the universe is in the form of an egg, that is oval, egg-shaped. Not only the universe, now universe has many planets. So the planets also are egg-shaped, oval, just like originally the scientists explained that Earth planet is oval and egg-shaped. So this is important to understand, that the planet Earth is not flat, but it is egg-shaped, andam. And another aspect is that yes, so the whole thing is that we need to control our mind and senses and engage our mind and senses in Krishna consciousness. So in Nectar of Instruction, Upadesh Amritam, Sri Rupa Goswami Maharaj has mentioned this verse: Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jiva vegam udaro pashta vegam etan veganyo visaheta dhira sarvam apimam prithivim sasisyat. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So in this way, it is very important to control all these urges and control our mind and engage our mind in devotional service. This is very, very important. Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Haribol. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this question about whether the earth is round or flat, there seems to be some indication in the Bhagavatam that it may be flat, or Jambadweep may be flat, but it's a very controversial. It's difficult to understand. The planes, according to the Bhagavatam, but we don't want to worry too much about
But it says, yes, it explains in the Bhagavatam about the earth being on that plane is a flat plane, but the shape of the earth itself is andam, like oval, like egg shape.
Wow.
It's situated on a sort of the plane is that flat. I think it's on Jambudweep or something like that.
Yeah. It's quite a controversial subject, but
Yeah.
it's this Vachuvegam is very important. We can get stuck in the controversies and actually miss the point that we're supposed to think of Krishna and ultimately get our consciousness on that level, rather than worrying about whether is the earth flat or round or whatever. There's one I can't remember his name now, Mahayogi Swami. I think he's very determined that this earth is flat, and I'm thinking, well, I don't really care, I just want to get out of this world, whether it's flat or round, who cares?
And sometimes there are some controversial explanation coming even from our devotees in Srimad. Some devotees are telling that the mind is situated in the heart. Now it's a bit difficult to digest because I've done science.
Right.
And you know that we have a digestive tract. So how this digestive system, esophagus, stomach, and intestine. We have circulatory tract, we have the circulatory system with the heart as a pump and the arteries and veins. So then we have the nervous system with the brain and the nervous system, the nerves tissue.
Right.
And then we are thinking, and the brain is involved as a gross element, but the mind, yes, as we understand, to process everything, the thought and memories, everything is in the brain structure.
Correct.
The soul is situated in the heart. That's okay.
Yeah.
But the thinking faculty, the thinking, feeling, willing, is a function of the mind, and the mind is the brain function.
Yeah.
With the mind. Yes, it's a subtle form. We cannot locate it, but it's subtle. Mind is subtle.
Very subtle. That's right.
Anyhow, yes. And the most important thing is that in Prem Dham Devastotram, the three aspects of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, namely Paramatma, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, is explained as follows. Brahma Paramatma Lakshanadvaya Kavachanam Sri Vrajasa Siddha Nanda Lila Nanda Nandanam Sri Rasa Swarupa Rasa Lila Gopa Sundaram Prema Dhama Devam Eva Nomi Gaura Sundaram. So this verse explains the three aspects of the absolute truth, like the Brahman, the effulgence, the transcendental effulgence, and Paramatma, the localized Paramatma, and the Bhagavan aspect, Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna, with his transcendental form. So we have been guided and instructed by our Guru Varga and the sages that it's best to worship Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Gauranga Mahaprabhu, like that. Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hare Gaur.
Thank you very much. So let's stop there. Unless there's any questions or any comments. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Prabhu is the most difficult chapter. I feel this one.
This is
From
tough.
the beginning, middle, end, all of this. Most difficult chapter.
This was technical.
Technical, yeah. And it's not keep it in not mind. Other things is history. We can memorize. But this one is totally scientific and technical.
Yeah, very technical. Yeah.
Very technical. It's difficult to memorize and understand.
No, that's right. We just gotta grab the essence from it.
Yeah, still, I did it a few times, but it's still.
It's a tough one. But the essence is, that the Lord controls through time everything in this material world. And if we waste our time around material consciousness, then death is inevitable. But if we link with God through, like Surendra said, through the three processes, three aspects of Godhead, then our future is guaranteed. Of course, we don't want to focus on the Brahman. We want to focus on the Bhagavan aspect.
Yeah.
But as long as we do that, then our future is very bright, So it's the main essence.
No,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Prabhuji,
Yes,
they said meditate on the super soul.
Meditate on the super soul, but because when we meditate on Krishna, that includes the super soul. So we don't have to do a separate meditation on the super soul, because we're already chanting the Mahamantra, which includes Krishna's name, and Krishna is, including Krishna, includes the super soul automatically.
So but Krishna is super soul, is it?
Yeah, but if we meditate just on the super soul, we may not attain Bhagavan, Krishna. But if we meditate on Krishna, we will attain super soul anyway, automatically. Just like a 50-pound note already includes a 20-pound note. So just worshipping God, chanting the Mahamantra is enough.
Okay, Prabhuji.
All right. Thank you for asking that question. Very good. Very important.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for lasting this one out, and well done, Ananda Leela. Very,
Thank
very
you,
good.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you,
very
Prabhu, and
much.
thank you, everybody. Nitai
Well
Gaur.
done. Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hi. Hi, Guranga.